Welcome to the Feminine Truth Podcast with Mary Miranda, a place where you can reconnect with your wild, cyclical, and fierce truth. I am Mary Miranda, a mentor, coach, healer, and intuitive. I guide women on a journey of remembrance, reconnection, and embodiment of who they are, their essence, power, and truth by reawakening the power of their feminine energy, womb, and menstrual cycles. Join me each week to indulge in raw, unedited, and unfiltered topics to help women own and step into their divine feminine truth and become unshakable, unapologetic, and bold in who they truly are. Let's jump into today's conversation. Welcome to another episode of the Feminine Truth Podcast with your host, Mary Miranda. Today, I am so excited for this conversation. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be very deep. It's going to be just fabulous. And this listener and this person that I'm going to introduce to you, she's so beautiful. Her energy, her essence, it's amazing. And I'm really excited to introduce her to you because you are going to fall in love with her story, with her journey, with who she is. So Dorottya, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I first want to introduce myself as a woman who is so in tune with herself and loves herself deeply because I have identified myself with my roles before, especially in my professional life. So that's how I wanted to introduce myself. But professionally, I do digital affiliate marketing, online business coaching, and I'm a holistic mentor.
I am so happy and so grateful that you're here. I know you also have listened to a few of our episodes of the podcast, and that's the reason why we started connecting on Facebook. I remember that. I remember the first time you tagged me, and I was just so honored because I started this project and it's been inside of me for the longest time. And when I launched it, I was so excited. I was like, what if nobody listens to me? You know, we always have that fear. And I'm like, who am I to be doing a podcast? So when I get feedback, when somebody reaches out to me, I'm just so honored and I'm so grateful to even have someone spend their energy and their time listening. So for me, it's even more of an honor to have you here because you've listened to the podcast. You've tapped into some of the episodes. You've connected with my story. I've connected with your story now that I know more of it. So thank you so much for honestly accepting to be part of this podcast.
Of course. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be in this space and to connect with you even deeper and have this conversation together. Because as I was listening to your entire past season, as I was walking down the street, whenever I would listen to you, I just felt like I connected with you, and just being here and having this opportunity is just truly amazing. And I felt like our paths crossed for a reason.
Yeah, totally. It's like all about energetics, how we met. I don't remember who added each other, but I'm so glad we did. And I'm so glad that you're about to share your incredible story. I read about it. And so why don't you tell me more than anyone, because I want to get to know you even more. And the audience and everyone that's going to listen to this, like, how did you come to be who you are today? Tell us a little bit about your story.
So if I would say the whole story, we would be here for hours.
We got time.
But what really started shifting for me was when I lost my job back in November 2020. I was in the healthcare field for 10 years. And at that point, I was struggling to get my nurse practitioner job that I worked so hard for. I went to college for a decade. And then COVID hit. And so the whole job process has been backed up. Nobody was hiring. And then, everybody was asking for experience, and I was a new grad. And so it took 2 years for me to finally land this, what I thought was my dream job in aesthetics. And then I ended up losing it 2 months later. So like after that, I really was like, okay, who am I? Because I really identified with my role as a nurse. Like I put my whole entire adult energy into it. And I was just so leaned into doing the right thing and just working hard that I completely fell out of touch with who I am. So now I really view that as a blessing, even though it really hurt like hell at the time, because it really gave me the time to figure out what I truly want out of life. Do I really want to continue doing that line of work, or am I meant to do something else? So that happened in November 2020. And then it just seems like every month something happened in my personal life. So basically, my professional life was taken care of by the universe.
Yeah.
That was shaved off. And so I had a 25-year friendship that we had a big falling out. I just didn't feel unconditionally loved in that relationship. So I really tried to make it work, but I felt so drained, and I just couldn't give more of myself in it. So that was something I was dealing with in the process. And it was a big hit because we were in each other's lives for such a long time. And then I also had one of my romantic relationships that we weren't like officially together, but we did, have on and off connection with each other. And I felt like really deeply for him because he was like the first person that I felt like such an instant connection. I don't know if we were like we met in a past life before, you just kind of have that. So it could have been like that and a lesson for me now. So that loss, I took it really hard. And then a couple months later, I ended up in the hospital twice in 2 months. So it was just a lot of emotional, physical, and spiritual, like grief that I was going through. And it just really compounded into this whole entire burnout situation. Mm-hmm. And the first time when I was in the hospital, I had a kidney stone. So that was something that I've had issues with, I think, for a while, but it like kind of blew up. And then a month later, I ended up having like a spiritual experience and this whole burnout. And the doctors couldn't even really explain what was going on with me at the time. So I was in the hospital for a few days. And then after that, I just was physically so drained. I could barely walk for a week. And I also needed help showering. So it was a very humbling experience for me to be on the other side, being a healthcare provider for so many years and then being in that state at 30 years old, mm-hmm. And I was in a very low point at that time because I felt like I lost my job. I lost all of these relationships that I poured myself into. And then I lost my health. And I was like, well, what is left? Like, where do I go from here? I really had like no idea. So for the longest time, as I was going through school, like a little voice told me self-love, and I remember in my conversations that I have with friends, that self-love is the biggest thing that we can do for ourselves. And in that moment, everything that has happened in my life has pointed me to, okay, you have lost everything that you felt gave you value. Now you have to love yourself for who you are without all that extra external things, So I really like had to invest in myself And since the doctors didn't have any sort of explanation as to what was going on with me, all of the scans, all of the labs, they were normal. The only thing that came back was inflammation, and they couldn't explain where that was coming from. So everything was just like a stress response. And I'm like, okay, I need to get back to truly deciding for myself, what am I going to do? And it's really interesting. At this point, I came across my health coach that I connected with, and it was so hard for me to invest in myself in that way, because I was so used to investing in my college education, into my jobs, but not into myself. So that was the first step for me to give myself the chance of doing this program. And like that changed my life. That's where it led me to be where I am today, because I took that chance and I was able to learn how to heal myself holistically with her help, through nutrition and lifestyle change. And I knew after that I can't go back to like working a regular job. It was just not meant for me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow, your journey is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And
you're
it
welcome.
comes to the point that you have to be your own advocate for your health.
Mhm.
When you go to the doctors, Western medicine, and you can't find answers, but in your body and your intuition that something is not right, that you don't feel well. The labs
Mhm.
come back, everything is fine, there's nothing wrong with you, which there isn't, right? But we feel something inside. The similar thing happened to me, that I went to so many doctors and it was a stress. My body couldn't handle the emotional stress. I didn't know how to process my emotions. I didn't know how to heal. I was so asleep. And when I started reconnecting with my body and everything, and I started processing my emotions and tapping into my womb and everything, like my health started improving. But there's still things that I'm still working through, but it came to the point that I printed out my symptoms and what I thought my diagnosis was. And I went to a functional medicine doctor and I'm like, this is what I think I have. These are all my symptoms. And I was all like structured with it, because I was so tired of going to doctors and them telling me there's nothing wrong with you. When I felt there was something wrong, I was like, I'm going to be an advocate for my health. I'm going to be an advocate for me, and I want to heal holistically.
Yeah.
Western medicine can be so beneficial, for so many people. And I'm okay. I'm pro like Western medicine for the right reasons. But when you don't find the answers, you feel hopeless. You feel this frustration. So you have to be your own advocate for your own health when you know. And this is like what happens when you reconnect with your body, right? You have this inner knowing, a full body knowing, like, no, there's a different way. There's a different way. So it's so empowering how you went and you found your path, and that's how you were able to start healing in your journey and everything. So that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Thank you. It just blows my mind, because like all of my training was in Western medicine, and then me having my personal experience, like everything inside of me was saying that's not the answer, because like the burnout I was experiencing and like the symptoms that I presented with, they thought I was having like a psychotic break, and they wanted to put me on bipolar medication. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I cannot even begin to wrap my head around this, because I already had like very bad thoughts. I didn't want that to be worse. I didn't want to become suicidal. I knew I needed help. So I was like, yes, I want to do counseling and therapy. And that was like my first step of like working through all of the emotional trauma and things that have happened like in my childhood that I didn't even think affected me. So that definitely, the counseling helped. And then like a month later or so, I came across my Ayurvedic health coach. So it was the whole going through like the psychological things, but also down to like the basics of nutrition and, fixing what was going on internally with foods and spices, and herbs, that work together for my specific body and my mind type. And really resetting my nervous system with different lifestyle changes. Like I started doing breath work. And I, like, after my experience, I had such a hard time sleeping as well. Like it's just so hard to explain. It felt like I was dying each time I was falling asleep because my nervous system was just so like shot. And I had random feelings of panic, and, thoughts would just be like scattered. So I could understand why they thought it was, a bipolar thing, but it was so much deeper than that.
Yeah, because Western medicine, and this is not all of them, but some doctors are very kind of just focused on what their specialty is. They don't see their body as a whole, as body, mind, and soul connection, and how one affects the other. It's all like, oh, kidney stones, it's the kidneys, but they don't understand that it could be an anger problem. It could be an emotional, like that is that not the only reason, but that could be making the problem even worse, the stress or whatever. There's so many factors. It's an integrative approach that we take. So let me ask you a quick question. This is something that jumped. You are by profession a nurse practitioner. You went to school for a decade and all of this, right? Your goal was to take care of others. Taking care of others, helping others heal and everything. How was the switch for you when you needed to be taken care of, when you couldn't even bathe, when you were doing that? How did that not only humble you, that humbles you, but your ego? How was the switch in you in body, mind, and soul when you realized that you needed to be taken care of, and when you were able to ask for help too?
Yeah. So it was very hard for me to accept help. And at first I didn't even feel like I deserved it, which is so interesting. I think because I was just so focused on helping others at first. And then when I was in that situation, I'm like, oh my God, like I need help. But it was just so hard for me to accept it, to accept the unconditional love that my mom was trying to give me, as she was helping take care of me. So that was definitely like a couple months that I had to work through and be like, okay, just surrender to it. And that was something that I worked with my health coach too, because we were getting down to like the whys, why I was so resistant to it. And it came down to me not feeling like I deserved love. So
is that rooted in something that happened in your childhood?
Yes, so my first memory was when I was 6 years old, and my maternal grandmother, she was dying, and I was trying to show her love. I tried to hug her and kiss her, and she just ended up turning her cheek from me. So that was like the first childhood memory that I have of, oh, you're not receiving my unconditional love. And so like, I didn't realize that it was such a deep wound, but it really did. Like, I think it made me like hesitant of showing it or accepting it, even though my parents both have showed me love since then, but that just kind of stuck out to me. And I think just coming from like a motherly figure, my mom's mom, and she also had a bond with my brother. She like showed him love more. So that was very hard for me to accept as well.
Yeah, I can see that. So did you grow up being more like independent, like a go-getter, hustle? like I have to do it, I have to work for it, like with that type of like the masculine energy like in the forefront.
Oh yeah, definitely. I I don't know what it was inside of me. I don't think it was my parents telling me to be that way, but something innately was like, okay, I need to be able to take care of myself. I was so driven and career oriented, like that was my life, and I always tried to protect myself. I think whenever I had emotional things that were hard, I would kind of set it aside and throw myself into work or in my studies because I know that I had control over that situation. So I think it definitely was a coping mechanism for me to be all in my masculine energy. And now I realize after my whole experience with burnout that was not really protecting me,
No, no. And especially when you like, I don't know why this is just connecting with me right now that I'm hearing this, because I've also experienced something similar. Not feeling like I deserve love. And for me, I always try to embody the masculine energy, because if I was more like a boy, more like a man, embody more of those qualities, that I was going to be more accepted and more loved. And so I also hit burnout and stuff like that. But I don't know how that can relate to what your grandma did and your grandma's preference to your brother, to a male. It's like it can shape us, that can shape someone and be like, oh wow, if I'm more like him, or embody more like the male attributes, figures, the energy, then I could be loved. I could be more loved, So a lot of us, and this has happened before too, like I've heard this, I've tapped into this before, that we grow up with that and we think that if we hustle, if we are overachievers, if we are doers, if we just go and we make things done and we're independent and all this, and their masculine energy, then we're going to be loved. We are loved for what we do, not for who we are.
Yeah, that's exactly like how we are accepted in society too. That's how we are viewed as of value whenever we get a job. What can you do for us? And it's conditioned as soon as we're like 5 years old, in school. Like we are conditioned to think that way, to act that way. And it's just, it blows my mind, because now, like through my own growth, I see how far we have worked against our own natures. And it's doing us such a disservice, as both, the feminine and masculine collective. So, yeah, that really makes a lot of sense now. I'm so glad that you said that, because I wasn't sure like how it all connected. But yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense with why I was so into my masculine energy.
And also, I don't know, like I connected with this because when I was reading through your story, there was this point that you said you come from immigrant parents, and so you are first generation here, and your parents left a communist country, right? So I don't know if it's true for you, for your story, but I'm an immigrant. I'm a first generation Mexican. My parents are Mexican. I'm mestiza. I'm half Mexican, half from the colonizers. And coming here to the United States, it's all about like coming to the American dream, a better life. It's all about money. You focus on, you work, you go to school, you get a degree, you go to school, you get a degree, you get a job, you get married, and it's all the American dream, the white picket fence, the husband, the children, whatever. And I have gone against the grain to all of that, by the way. I'm so unconventional. But coming here, there's, as an immigrant, that's also like another, not trauma. I don't want to say it's super trauma, but it has been traumatic for me, because my identity has been questioned several times within me, because I'm like, I don't feel I'm Mexican. I don't feel I belong in the United States. Like, I don't know where I belong. And it came to the point for me, for my parents, it's like my parents brought me here. I need to show them that I need to make them proud. I need to get a job. I need to graduate from school. I need to get good grades.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do this. I need to do that for them to love me, for them to know that it was all worth it. I don't know how,
Mm-hmm.
if you relate to any of that. So then I was even more in my masculine energy because I'm like, I need to achieve all the things. So my parents
Mm-hmm.
are proud of me because they didn't come to
Yeah.
this country in vain.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. I think so. Like I want to make them proud, and they did come to this country to give us a better life. You know, it wasn't for them, it was for me and my brother, you know. So I felt like I was given such an opportunity to make something of myself, you know, to get that career that's stable, you know, which didn't end up being very stable at the end, you know,
Yeah.
but just and have a noble career, you know, helping other people, being in a respected profession, you know, that's something that somebody is proud of, you know, their kids doing. So I feel like, you know, all of my life up until this point, I have been taken care of by my parents. I want to be able to give back to them as well. So that has definitely been a driving factor for me too, with me being such a go-getter and driven in my career.
Yeah. And how did it affect your parents when you decided you were not going to pursue your nurse practitioner professional career that you worked so hard for? And now you're pursuing something that lights your soul on fire and you're happy. Like, how has that been? Are they accepting? Are they supportive? How are they upset?
Yeah, so they are very supportive. At first, when I was making the shift at the very beginning, because, like, you know, my journey was kind of broken up by my illness, you know. So at first, when I was deciding to go a different route, they were a bit concerned. They're like, okay, you have to go back to work, you know, because you have to be making money, you know. And then when they saw how it affected me and I was in, you know, such a fragile state, they really became supportive, and they're like, okay, we're going to support the decisions that you are making. You know, you take your time. And as I was feeling better, even like my mom was like, don't overdo it, you know, just do a little bit each day, you know, because it did take some time for me to be able to even look at my phone, my screen. I had such a hard time filling out a form. I had extreme headaches and just very weak. So, like, it really took a lot of time for my nervous system, my brain to heal. So they have been very supportive. And they're not pushing me or expecting me to, you know, bring in all this money right now, or, you know, to go to work or whatever. And, you know, I'm still able to take care of my bills. You know, I was very responsible with my money up until this point. So I'm happy about that. So yeah, it's such a blessing to be able to have their support, because if not, I know that I would make it happen, but it would be so much more difficult.
No, yeah, totally. For me, my parents, it's not that they're not supportive of what I do. They
Mm-hmm.
want to see the income, like the big, not the big money. They just want my safety. They want
Mm-hmm.
me to be taken care of. That's their concern. It's not that they're
Mm-hmm.
not supportive. Like, of course, like they're not supportive of my period post, my period facial post, or things like that. My mom has said it's from the devil because she doesn't understand it. And I made the mistake of doing a cross. I could have done a dot. I just did a cross on my forehead. And my
Mm-hmm.
mom freaked out. And she's on my Facebook. She's in my Facebook. So she sees what I post. And it came to a
Mm-hmm.
point that, you know, they're not supportive of those posts because it goes so against how they brought me up. But the way I was brought up, it's not who I am. It's not
Mm-hmm.
me. It's not my truth. It's not my essence. I was so disconnected. So let
Mm-hmm.
me ask you, how has been the journey of reconnecting back to you, to your truth? Because I think you were at some point very disconnected. That's why the burnout, that's why I mean, besides maybe it was something medical, the health issues and everything you went through, I feel like a lot of times it's our bodies telling us to come back to our own bodies, to remember our truth, to reconnect back to our essence, our femininity, our feminine energy, our masculine energy, to like take a little pause, you know. So how has the journey been of where do you feel the disconnection happened to begin with?
I feel like the disconnection happened when I had a little voice in my head that my nurse practitioner journey wasn't meant for me, but I wanted to see it through. You know, I started having this like desire of learning about holistic healing and herbs. And all I was learning about was medications. And I just did not feel joy, you know, prescribing those. So I think like the disconnection started there. And then as I was losing my other relationships, like after I lost my job, I realized that those were also disconnections as well, because I couldn't authentically be myself with those people. And I also didn't feel loved, you know, in those situations. So I'm like, if I don't feel loved, this isn't a disconnect. So I really feel like that's where it kind of started and like blossomed into the whole health situation that I had. Because actually before the second time I ended up in the hospital, I started reconnecting with my body. And I think intuitively, I was told to like connect to my sexuality again, because that's like a feminine aspect of yourself, right? Like as a woman, you receive and you're vulnerable in that kind of state. So I wasn't in a relationship at the time, so I decided to get reconnected with myself sexually. And I also had like a curiosity around tantric sex also. So I put on like a YouTube video that had like the music, and I can't even find it to this day. So I think it was just meant for me to find at the time.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. And so, you know, I just like let that experience happen. And as I got like reconnected with myself, I got so like in tune with my breath with that experience. And like that is just like the foundational way for you to connect to your body, is through your breath and through your sexuality, you know. And it was actually after that experience I ended up in the hospital the second time with the whole burnout and the whole like psychotic break that they were referring to.
But it was just an awakening. That's the thing. Yeah. They don't understand. They're not gonna, if you tell them, oh, it was a Kundalini awakening, or it was I was immersed in tantric music, they're gonna be like, what is this? They don't have any knowledge. And then I think I've heard so many stories of people who are diagnosed with bipolar, schizophrenia, and everything, and all they're going through is a dark night of the soul, is a spiritual awakening. So tantric sex is such a deep way to connect with your own body. You don't need a partner. This is not about having sex. This goes way deeper than that. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. So because they're like, oh my God, that's kinky or something, because they're not educated on it. It's like, for me, it's about your reconnection with you, with your body, with your sexuality, with, like you said, through your breath.
Yeah. And I didn't even really know much about it at the time. You know, I didn't read up on it or anything. I just knew I had a curiosity, and I knew that I had to explore it. And yes, I agree. I had a Kundalini awakening with that experience, and it was so much deeper than what I would have ever expected. I went into it not even knowing what the outcome was going to be. I wasn't going into it with a goal. I just, was having my intuition lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, like during that experience, like I was able to like access part of my body and my brain in ways that I wasn't able to before. And like for the next few days, I was just like so in tune with myself. Like my hips began swaying, like my body was just more feminine. And like on one of the nights, I remember like I just had such heightened awareness and senses. Like my vision was just so like I don't even know how to explain it. It was like hypersensitive.
Yeah.
Like it felt almost animalistic in a way. And I don't know, I just like was channeling. I was like blessing my room, and like I even went outside at one point. I was blessing the neighbors and my house, and came back into the kitchen. And so I don't know, like I was just channeling some energy, and it was beautiful. Like at the time, I didn't know like what has taken over me. I thought after the fact, oh my gosh, I'm possessed, but yeah, it's so amazing how like connected I felt like to my source, to God, and having that experience of the divine feminine like through me, and just having that intimacy with not only myself but my creator as well.
Yeah, that's so powerful. So has this opened, besides the fact that this opened up some psychic gifts and more your intuition and your senses and everything heightened, how has this opened you up sexually?
So I haven't like experienced sex with other people since then, but I feel like when I do with myself, like I have like a deeper sense of intimacy. And it's really interesting because sometimes like I feel like I have like my body just like moves in intuitive ways, and like kind of like yogic poses too.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. So like just like even like sitting sometimes, like my hips just sway, and like it's more natural. It doesn't feel like I have to try, when like I'm turned on or anything. It happens. And like for like a couple months after the fact, I was afraid to go there sexually, because I thought I did something wrong. I had like the thoughts of like, okay, like was I possessed? Like me having sex landed me in the hospital, so I had all these traumas, I think, that I had to work through around that experience, and open myself up to, okay, I'm safe to, have sex again. And, be open to that whenever the right person does come into my life.
I think like it's such a beautiful thing to create intimacy with ourselves before we create it with another person, another human. For me, it's being so empowering to explore myself and to tap into my sacral chakra and my root chakra, and just really like tap into my womb. Because we as women, so many of us, especially, I'm not sure for you how your religious upbringing affected you sexually or in this realm, but for me, it's like just talking about this is sinful. It's seen as sinful, as unholy, as dirty. So we grew up so disconnected that we don't even know we can create our own oxytocin. We don't even know how we can create our own pleasure and tap into the orgasmic energy of that. And we just like don't know how we like to be touched, what we liked. We're so disconnected. So for me, when I started reconnecting with my sexuality, creating an intimate relationship with myself, it's when I started doing my self-pleasure practice, when I started really like understanding how I like to be touched, what I don't like, my boundaries, what I consent to and not. And I was like, oh my God, I have done things without consent just to please another person. And it all comes from the upbringing, right? That I don't know how, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but for me, it's like women from, and this is not all women, but from where I grew up and how I grew up, it's our duty is to please men, is to, as a wife, you have to provide your sexual services to your husband, you know? And for me, it's like, no, like there is just so much more. We're not just objects. We have feelings. We desire more connection. And I don't think a lot of people know true intimacy in that sense. And for me, it starts with myself, with yourself.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because if you don't have that intimacy or that knowing of yourself, there's no way you're able to know somebody else on that deep level. And definitely as women, I feel the same way. Like, in order for me to have like a beautiful sexual experience and be completely vulnerable and enjoy the pleasure of it, I have to feel connected and safe, you know, in that situation with that person. So definitely like getting connected with what you like and what you don't like you're able to communicate that better. You're able to have a voice, and feel that you're sexy, you know, because like I've had experiences in the past where I did not feel fully accepted or that I was sexy in a relationship, you know, and so like that really like held me back, you know, from like fully expressing myself, because I was either told, oh, we need to be quiet, or, you know, don't be too loud, or, you know, whatever. And I'm like, that does not even feel natural, you know, it goes against like everything that I feel like I want to experience, you know? So yeah, and going back to your religious upbringing too, like I also was brought up in a strict religious upbringing as well. And so like sex was not even a topic that we would touch on. So I didn't start like experiencing anything until my early 20s, because everything was, oh, you can't have sex until you're married, you know, a man and woman, and then, you know, the wife be submissive to the husband and all that. So it was like, okay, well, in order for me to to be the good, you know, godly daughter, I need to, you know, act this way. I need to wait. And yeah, it felt dirty for me to even think of like experimenting with sex or, you know, having those thoughts. Like that was just unheard of. That's terrible. So yeah, that definitely like affected me, I feel like, in my sexual experiences. And I felt like, okay, I was told a certain way, I was told how to act. And then when I had those encounters, I was like, okay, this person's telling me to behave this way, then this is probably what's expected of me. And this is how I should be. This is how a woman is supposed to be. I didn't know, you know, any different. So I really felt like I didn't have much of a voice in those relationships. And getting back in tune with myself, I'm like, okay, I do have a voice. I do know what I want and what I don't want in a relationship, even in my own sexual experience. So I feel like much more confident moving forward, having had, you know, that intimacy with myself.
Yeah. So what religion were you brought up with?
It's called Seventh-day Adventist.
Wow. Okay. I was brought up Catholic, and it's not, they're not the same, but at the root, we are suppressed as women. At least that's my experience, is my point of view. And everything is improper, immoral. You're sinful, you're dirty, you're a whore, you're a prostitute, or whatever. If you have if you start having sex too young, or if you, I don't know, how was virginity brought up for you guys? Was it like for me, for us as Catholics in Mexico, my whole town was Catholic. It was more like, if you're not a virgin when you get married, men are not gonna want you anymore. Like, if you lose your virginity before getting married, nobody's gonna value you, nobody's gonna want you, nobody's gonna want to marry you. So I kind of like, I think since I was little, I rebelled against that. And I was like, I'm never getting married. And if I get married, I'm going to get married until I'm 35. I am not going to do it the way everybody has done it. I was such a rebel since I was little. It's not trying to be a good girl, but I was a rebel because my body was telling me, this is not what I believe. This is against me. But you're little, you're conditioned and programmed with what your parents think is best for you. So then it's just like this, your body is like this, like turmoil, this conflict inside of you that you rebel against it. But virginity was such a huge deal.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like virginity, it's viewed as being pure and like worthy of being a wife. Like that is like the ultimate goal as a woman, to be like a virgin wife. And it's so hard to live up to, because like you said, your body is like screaming and telling you this is not right. Like you have desires for a reason. You have that. It's literally our life force. If it wasn't for desire, we wouldn't even exist.
Yeah.
So
powerful, so true.
So it really blows my mind how like we're so programmed, and I'm not even sure where this all came about, because I feel like centuries and thousands of years ago, this wasn't even like a thing.
No, we are born sexual humans. It's our innate behavior in mating and procreating. And I believe we are polyamorous by nature. We are not monogamous. And that's a fact. And there's research on it and everything. And our choice is to be monogamous. You choose that. You can be poly or whatever you want, but for me, I like monogamy. That's my thing. I like that a lot. But I think our innate behavior, the way we are wired, is that we are polyamorous by nature. And that is like, just thinking about that, you're like, no, that's sinful, that's not right. How, there's like so much that can go behind that, but it's like, wherever you are, that's completely fine. But I feel like my point of view is that it's all about control, how they try to control us through the religious aspect, Christianity, early in the centuries. And it's women just grew up so disconnected from themselves, from their pleasure, from their bodies. And just like the thought that we have always believed that pleasure is sinful, sex is sinful, like the purity culture and all of that. I'm not pro that, obviously, or modesty or anything like that. I just like, my body's just like, oh, no, I'm like a rebel against it. And for me now, I wrote a post the other day where I was like, I need to come back to my purity, but not in a sexual way. It's my truth, who I am, below the conditioning, the programming, my belief systems that I grew up with. And my purity is like my own truth, my own belief systems, who I am now. I'm reconditioning myself to what I feel is good for me, in alignment with me, what I want, so it's like a whole different, I'm like, I'm going to give it a different meaning for me. This is what it means to be pure, to be holy, to be whole, to be, like, that feels so good to me, not this old school idea or paradigm of purity being modest, being a virgin, being a good girl. Like, no.
Right. It's an impossible standard to live up to.
Yeah.
And then, like if you try to stay in that standard, like you are literally just like minimizing who you are. And I feel like if you're on your deathbed with that sort of like vision of yourself. Like, you're just like, what did you live your life for? You know, like, you're not being authentic, and what is the point of not being authentic? You know, you're just like working against yourself. And it's really a shame how society just views that as like the picture perfect thing. But I think more and more people are waking up to it. You know, more women are having experiences like we have experienced. So it's really, really amazing that we're here talking about it, you know, and connecting with other people who think the way that we do. Because the more we put our voice out there and share our story, the more people will come forward and realize like there's much more of us, you know, that we probably even thought.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, no, it totally is. And there's nothing wrong if your belief systems, if your truth, if your essence, you're like, I want to be modest, I want to be religious. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're choosing for yourself, not letting somebody for you. That's, for me, that's power. For me, that's like, I respect that, you know. But a lot of us like grow up and we follow what we know because that's how we were raised. And it's like you have a voice, you get to choose, be pro-choice about your life, you know. If you decide that's what you're aligned with, amazing. But if inside of you you feel like this body reclaiming like sensation, like, no, this is not, no, this doesn't feel good for me. Like, you know, it's your body screaming at you. It's the remembrance, is the coming back to your body because there's another way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, there's so many different types of religions that who's to say that one certain religion is the ultimate truth? And when you peel back all of the layers, all of them point to a source that is higher than us. You know, so what do the details really matter, you know, of what's right and what's wrong when everything circles back to God, the universe, our source energy, and love, right?
Yeah, and I'm still struggling with that right now. I just got some I'm not talking about it as of right now, but I'm navigating some stuff. So I'm re-traumatized at the moment about religion and religious men and sexuality, as something came back that I don't remember from my childhood. So I'm navigating that right now. So I'm questioning a lot. Who is this God? Does he exist? Like, who do I believe? So like, just back, and I'm like, I thought I knew, and now it's like, no, like, I get to heal this and really anchor into what is my true belief system as far as who the higher power is. Is it a God? Is there a goddess? What is it? And just if this is an opportunity for me to really heal something that I have been avoiding, because, you know, it's just so intense. And I went back to Mexico in 2020, and my town is like 100% Catholic. So that was a lot of very triggering for me, but I'm like, I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. Like, I have to welcome the triggers. But right now that every trauma came back, it's like, okay, I can't run away anymore. I have to face it. And so I'm navigating that through plant medicine, through healers, through like my life coach, and just hoping to understand what happened to me when I was little and really understand how sex and religion was tangled up in that. So like reclaiming again my sexuality, my belief systems around religion, not religion, my spirituality. And I think at the end, it has to be like your spirituality based on your own understanding. If that's a God, if that's the universe, whatever. It's like, I'm like, why am I going through this again? So I'm in it right now. When it comes to religion, when it comes to sex again, when it comes to men who are religious, that's very triggering to me. And I had to meet someone that was Christian for me to be re-triggered. And I'm like, okay, cannot run away anymore. We're going to face this. So I'm excited for the journey. It's not going to be easy, but I'm actually very excited to find out like who I'm going to become on the other side.
Yeah, it is really exciting. And you're gonna keep on going through waves of
Yeah.
confusion and, what is the truth? Like I've experienced that too. Like I'm like, well, who is God? Is God a man? Is God a woman? Like just all these different things. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And like your sexuality and sex in itself, it's such a spiritual experience.
Yes.
So you having, that journey that you're going through right now around sex and religion and or spirituality, like it makes total sense because you're, diving into a deeper layer of yourself. So
Yeah, and it's a layer
it's
that
exciting.
I didn't know existed much, and I did a plant medicine journey and stuff came up that I had blocked. So um diving into that right now, it's a little scary, but I'm like, you know what? This makes so much sense. Now I can connect the dots and then understand really like the root cause of so many issues that I've struggled with. So I'm in it. I'm excited. I'm not this is so funny. I'm so excited about going back to trauma and then finding out. That's what we do when once you're awakened, you cannot go back to not being awakened and be asleep. Once you know the potentiality, when you start healing and who you're going to become on the other side, is just like you just get excited for it, and curious, and you're like, this is going to be great. At the end, it's going to be great.
Oh, definitely. Like when you come in from the other side, because we have gone through so much healing in our own journeys. So we know, okay, we've gone through so much struggle, but we knew we made it on the other side. So we know that that's coming. The light at the end of the tunnel, the beautiful new version of you is coming. So I think like me, I had my first time through this experience. So I was afraid. I didn't know. So it was a very scary thing at first. And I didn't know how I was going to come out of it, if I was able to come out of it. I was just in such a dark place. But now that I had enough self-love and stuck with the journey, I see the other side and how beautiful it is. And I'm excited for those waves to continue, coming. And it's interesting how you mentioned the plant medicine, because I'm learning about herbs and spices and things now with my health coach. So maybe some other things are going to come up for me too. I don't know.
No, yeah, I took herbalism courses like during COVID in 2020 when I was in Mexico. I have so many plants. I brought so many plants from there. So I was doing my own tinctures, my own everything. And I'm like, my next step is to take some of these teas because they help holistically too. But I'm like, my next step is going to be plant medicine, like psychedelics, to help me really heal some deep stuff. I wasn't ready before because for me it's a sacred thing to do. Connecting with plants is sacred. I have this thing that I channel plants. So like if I touch a tree, I can feel the tree energy. In Mexico, there's this tree that looks kind of like the willow tree, but it's called pirul. And we use it for limpias, which are cleansings and all of that from like the evil stuff and things like that. So like I connect with that so much. Every time I would pass by and I would see all the pirul trees, like I remember, like I would just feel their energy. And there was one time that they cut the tree and I started crying because I felt the pain. So then when I started herbalism, learning about the plants and the herbs and everything, I was meditating and I just started grabbing different herbs every day. And I was just channeling the message, their spirit. It's something that I do as a practice and I love it. But the next step for me is like, okay, once I feel ready, I will explore plant medicine, psychedelics to help me reach deeper layers of my healing. And when the time came, I was welcome. I was like prepared for it. I was like, okay, so I connected with the spirit of the plant medicine I took. And I didn't expect what came out of that session. I never thought something was going to be awakened, something that I don't remember. I still don't make sense of it. And then you get to the point that you're like, was it true? Did it really happen? Did it not happen? Oh my God. Like, and you question yourself, but then my body knows, my body remembered, because I start crying and shaking. My body remembers. It's okay if I don't remember consciously, but I remember my body. And that is the power of reconnecting with your body, reconnecting with your womb, reconnecting with yourself, your intuition, that you trust it, that you don't doubt it, that you don't question it much. Yeah, I want to know what happened. Of course. I'm about that. So I do want to know what happened. So I'm ready for it. And I was like, you know what? This happened right now that I met this Christian man that I was seeing, because I'm ready to heal this. I have the tools. I have the support system. I have the sisterhood. I have everything to be able to walk this trauma again. And I'm not alone. And it's just, for me, I'm excited. And I'm also at the point, like you said, we go through the waves, and as coaches, like you and I, if we are not our best clients for ourselves, like how are we going to lead our clients, in our experience?
Right.
Like you're a business coach. You do so much. You're more than a business coach. You're also a holistic wellness coach. You have like a jack of all trades right now. All your experiences are helping you become a better coach, a better mentor for your clients. Because when a client comes to you, this is blocking me. And then you guys find the root is something related to religion or something, like maybe a money belief is tied to that, maybe something, not you don't want to be seen because you were not supposed to be seen when you were little because of your religious upbringing or whatever. So it's like, you're like, I understand that because I've been there. And it's just so empowering. So like, it got to the point, like, seriously, that I was like, I've gone through so much stuff. Like every month, like you just said, every month it seems like something's coming up. And I'm like, but this is in my toolbox to help my clients better. Like I cannot see myself out like I'm too damaged, I'm too broken, I'm too much of a mess. No, I am becoming a better client for myself. And I have so much more wisdom and knowledge, and I can help my clients with so many things that even if I'm not the right coach for that, I can be like, you know what? I get it. I've been there, and I can take them as far as I've taken myself, So that's so cool. Like we just go through ups and downs, we embrace them, we just like welcome them, and we know that it's making us not only better as women, but as coaches.
Yeah. For sure. And I feel like us being able to tap into what we have been through, we are able to connect with our clients on a deeper level and relate with them and be like, yeah, like we're human, like we've gone through that. And like they are talking with someone who has gone through a situation, maybe not exactly like they did, but similar. And they're like, okay, like she has gone past it. So we're like a living testimony for them, and a hope and an inspiration that, okay, like I'm able to get through, with their support. Or even if you don't know how to exactly help them, like, we're able to connect them to other people who can or have expertise in, either like mindset or, herbs or whatever it is that they need. So,
yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful. So with everything that you have gone through, everything that you have experienced, everything feels to me the way I'm like with this conversation that we're having, that the journey has been just returning back to yourself and learning to love yourself again. That feels like that has been your journey, and that has been my journey, of course, but everything is always like a remembrance of like return back to your body, return back to your intuition, like return back to you.
Yeah, I learned how to love all of me, especially the parts that were difficult for me to love when I was in, my darkest times. I learned to not only love myself, but also forgive myself and thank myself, thank my past self for taking the steps that led me, to like my fall, or, landing in the hospital or whatever. Like, I took that really hard on myself, and I blamed myself so much. So after the fact, when I started reconnecting with myself, like exactly how you put it, like I truly unconditionally loved myself and started accepting it for myself from other people who unconditionally love me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you have to learn how to, it's not right now that I'm tapping into it, it's not so much like learning how to love yourself. It's like receive your own love, receive your own affection. Like, how can we receive it from someone else when we cannot receive it from ourselves and give it to ourselves? Because, it's like receive it from our feminine energy, give it from our masculine energy. It's like this duality within us. But it's just like your journey has been like fully and completely loving and accepting yourself. And like you said, acceptance is so hard. Accepting ourselves, because we are so imperfectly flawed and very human in this 3D world, that just accepting us is just so hard for so many of us. I know I struggle with that so much. Like, what do you think was the breakthrough that helped you accept yourself? Or the moment that was like, oh, like I finally accept myself?
Oh, I think just getting down to the simple thing of like my breath work. Like, I know that's something that it's like a non-negotiable thing for me to do morning and night. Because I was able to just like calm everything by doing like my alternate nostril breathing. And that like helped balance out my masculine and feminine. So once I felt like I was balanced out in my body, I was able to just think clearly, or just, have clarity and be at peace of, okay, this is all of who I am and I'm at peace. Like just that simple act of breathing. It's powerful.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be this elaborate way to learn to love and accept ourselves. It can be so simple. It can be so soothing, so soft, so simple, so like careless at the same time, that you're like what? That little thing did it for me. And it's more because we struggle our whole lives as women. We have to fit in. We have to do this. We have to act this way. We have to be proper. We have to do this. Oh my gosh. We deal with so much. So when we come to our truth, to our essence, to our nature, to our purity, and we can accept that we're human, that we're going to screw up, that we make mistakes, and we have to accept that and forgive ourselves the times that we have to. I think that's the hardest thing. It's accepting and forgiving ourselves in order to love ourselves.
Yeah. I think it's something that we just have to keep reminding ourselves about, no matter what is happening around us, like you just have that remembrance of like, okay, I'm okay. And I know how to love myself and get back into my body and like truly accept who you are, no matter what happens around you,
Yeah. Do you think, and this is something that just popped into my head that I was going to ask earlier, you have gone through so much loss in a way. You lost your job, you lost that friendship, you lost that romantic relationship, and you lost so much. But at the end, it was a journey that was reflecting back that you needed to gain yourself. You lost everything so you can finally focus all that energy into giving it to yourself. And then now I feel like you feel so whole and complete. That's how I'm feeling your energy right now, that you don't feel the lack or the scarcity or the loss. You're at this place that you're
Mm-hmm.
so accepting of you and loving of you that you feel all those gaps of unmet needs of, what I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah, it does. Because like I have gone through waves of emotion. Like, I remember those losses, and
Yeah.
it does hurt and it does still affect me. It takes time, and I think there's always going to be thoughts that come from that, but I'm able to bounce back so much quicker because I do feel like I am whole. And I do want those, valuable friendships that are, you know, show unconditional love.
Yeah.
And I do want that man in my life, who also unconditionally loves himself. That way we are able to have like a healthy relationship. But me not having that man right now, I don't feel like I'm not whole.
Yeah. Or like there's something missing or there's something
Right.
lacking in your life. And I think
Mm-hmm.
for us, for so many people, and there's nothing wrong with it if that's what you really desired, a romantic relationship, finding the one, your soulmate, whatever. For me, and this is what I realized at the end of the year, it just came back. It just came up to me. I made my entire life revolved around men,
Mm.
revolved around finding the one, finding love, which is funny because I never wanted to get married. But in the back of my head, I always thought, oh, I wonder what my husband would look like. Well, I got married and I got divorced. So I know what he looks like now. But
Yeah.
I made my entire life, especially around my 20s, my 30s, around men finding love. Even if I wasn't dating someone, it was always healing so I can attract the men of my dreams, healing so I can heal this trauma, so I can finally get the relationship and love that I want. And it was always that. And I was just like, I got so fed up with it. I was so tired of it. I was like, I'm done. The end goal is me. I'm the end goal now. Like no man anymore. Like it just like I don't know. Like I was always like doing self-love and I loved myself and I accepted myself. But behind the reasoning behind that was to find love, to attract a man. Because if I love myself, I'm going to attract someone that's going to mirror that. I was still making the end goal about a man that didn't exist. It was an invisible future man, And I'm like, even in my imaginary man, no, he ain't the end goal. It's me. I'm my upgrade. I'm my end goal. And I just got so pissed and so fed up, and just the fire lit up in me that I'm like, I am done. Like I am done. I'm always healing from something that a man has done, or not done, but in the dynamic, something came up and now I got hurt or I got divorced and all this stuff. And I'm like, I am done. Because even when I was single and healing from these relationships, I was still healing from men. And I got to the point that right now it's like complete detachment from any man. I feel so pure. I feel so good that I am loving being in a relationship with myself. I'm not single. I'm in a
Yes.
relationship with myself. And I feel so happy that I am my end goal. I'm like, it's
Yes.
like we are the prize. We are the upgrade. We are the end goal. We are, so connected to ourselves that it's just like, for me, that's the most empowering thing I have ever done for me.
Yeah. I have been single most of my life. Like there was one like kind of longer relationship that I had. It was 10 months. So I personally haven't experienced like a long-term love. So it's something that I would like to experience in my life. But now for the first time in my life, I am happy being single. And I don't feel like I'm lacking or I'm lonely. Because when I was out in the dating world, I did find myself like healing from situations or really like overthinking, what am I saying? How am I acting? What am I doing to please somebody else? Or, oh, like, why didn't it work out? Just like kind of beating myself up about why something didn't lead to the next thing, or why I wasn't worthy of that man's attention or affection, you know? And now I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe, I was like waiting for somebody else to show me that.
Yeah.
Now I know that I can show that to myself. And no matter what, whether I am gonna have, 5 men in my life or no man or whatever, like, I'm gonna be okay. and I'm able to show myself that affection and give myself that intimacy, because I know I can create it for myself.
No, yeah. And then once you create that, then it's not like it's okay to still want a partner, a relationship eventually right now. But I think we need to, and that's my opinion, to get to this point that we're so whole and complete on our own, that we still desire from a place of like, oh my God, excitement, not from a place of I need love, or I'm so needy and desperate because I have unmet needs or unhealed wounds and things like that. No, now it's coming from this place that is very empowering, because you're like, I feel I feel more healed. I feel so happy alone. If he comes, good. If he doesn't, good. It's at a point of being unbothered by it, but also knowing that when it comes, it's going to be amazing, because you're going to be your best version. And right now, you, and I think as women, that is so empowering.
Yeah, it's something to definitely remember moving forward, that no matter what, our worth doesn't come from somebody else or somebody else's love for us or what we do. Our worth comes from who we are, just being. And that's really embracing your feminine energy, and that was something that I really had to embrace. And it's really beautiful, because I feel like I'm so like in tune with myself now, and I know when I need to be more in my masculine or more in my feminine, and like I give myself what I need and I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, because you're coming to this place of fulfilling your own needs and just completing yourself. And when the person comes, then, right now it's just, you're in a beautiful journey helping women, and like, just like, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I know, like, when the right person does come into your life, whether it's for, a season or for the rest of your life, I don't have that expectation of something lasting forever, until the day I die.
That's so much pressure.
It is a lot of pressure, so I'm like, whenever that person does come in, like, it's gonna be the right thing. Like, I'm either gonna learn from it, or it's gonna be much easier than what my experiences have been before, because I feel like I'm not gonna have to force anything. I'm not forcing who I am, because I am that next best version of myself. And if, it's not accepted, then there's a door.
Yeah, that definitely. And it just comes to like the relationship you have created with yourself, and you have crafted, and you have worked on daily. It comes from that, like your power, it stems from that. So that's amazing. So what are some of the things that you do to help you reconnect back with yourself, besides the breath work and the tantric sex practices?
So one of the first things that I do in the morning is to give gratitude, because even if I'm having a bad day or not feeling the best, I give thanks for like the little things, like waking up, for my eyesight, for being able to hear the birds in the morning, like especially now with springtime, I just love hearing them outside. So gratitude is something that I really do, and not feeling guilty for putting my needs first. So I've promised myself to do massages. Like, I've always viewed them as like, this self-care or pampering thing, but it's something that I I really do for myself, because I know how much tension I carry. So just, yeah, being in that feminine energy of receiving, that care and really caring for myself, and being in tune with like my diet too, because that has really helped heal me. So yeah, those are definitely like non-negotiable rituals that I do like on a daily basis. And also moving my body too. Like I've really started connecting with myself through dance. So that is something that I really enjoy doing for myself to keep staying in tune with my energy, and feeling good and feminine and like who I am at my core.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I love those practices. I love intuitive dancing and just letting your body move the way it desires to without forcing it, just letting it flow.
Yeah. It feels so good.
It does. It does. So I want to read something that you wrote, that I feel it's amazing. And it's, I'm quoting you. Okay. So
Okay.
once I started listening to my own voice, what feels right and aligned with me, the opinions and fears of others no longer held me back. I didn't care that some interpretation of the Bible said that sex is only reserved for a husband and wife. My sexuality is my gift from my creator, and I am empowered to experience sexual pleasure whether I am single, in a relationship, married, or not. I am my own entity. That is freaking of a goddess. Just that I am my own entity. It's like you have come to this place that you know your truth, your essence, your power, and it's not an easy path coming from immigrant parents, coming from this upbringing with your religion, coming from being disconnected from your body, coming from health issues, coming from all of this. That journey that you have walked, that path that you have walked, it's a lot of like blocks. It seems like blocks, but at the same time, it's like things that were preparing you to be who you are today. And just like saying that, listening to your own voice, and you heard the call of remembering to come back to your body, remembering to come back to your feminine energy, to your womb, to your essence. And not a lot of women hear that call. They don't hear the voice because we are just following what the path that everybody else has carved or lined for us, like our parents. There's nothing wrong with that if that feels good for you. But for me and for you, it seems like, no, I get to create my path. And, there were so many places that you diverted from that path, but now you're back on it. This is the path where you were born. We get diverted, but at the end goal is always there. Reconnection to us, loving us, our truth. And just like you said, your own entity.
Yeah.
How do you feel now that I read that back to you?
It's so powerful. I don't even remember like the exact statement. I was like in tune. I was just channeling that. And yeah, it's so powerful to remember you are your own, and your own voice. Like, we are such individuals, and we have our own gifts, our own experiences, our own voice, and we're supposed to be able to be open and share that with the world. Like, we're not supposed to be in this mold and like a herd and just like keep on doing a certain thing. Like, that's not who we are. We all have our certain stories, that are meant to be told, that are meant to unfold for our healing and for healing for other people as well. So I think being confident in that and in your own voice, even though, it may be scary at first because everything you were ever told is wrong, like just, like you said, some women, they don't feel like they have the voice, but I think it's in there, it's just very suppressed. So once you start surrendering to everything that may be happening in your life and you think that it's tragic, it's actually peeling off a layer for you to be able to hear your voice again.
Mm-hmm. And not only like being able to hear it, but trust it.
Mm-hmm.
Trust it and
Yeah.
follow it. Because a lot of times we hear it and we ignore it. No. We ignore the nudges, we ignore the body feels, the constriction. We ignore it when it's body's telling us, hey, pay attention. Like, come back to me. And like just trusting the voice. Calling. It's not a lot of people can do that.
Right. And sometimes it takes a landing in the hospital for you to truly, get the message, sometimes it has to happen in that big way for you to truly follow your voice. Because I think that was like the main turning point for me for reconnecting with myself.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to wake up again. And that's okay. So what do you feel is your truth now?
I think it's just being open with who I am and being confident with that, like no matter what the opinions are of other people. It was like nerve-wracking for me to, even have this conversation, but I listened to my voice and that excitement for, this conversation with you, because I just trust that something beautiful is going to happen out of this.
And it will. And a powerful conversation. And a lot of women are going to relate to your story, what we talked about, and your journey. So when a woman comes to you with whatever you help them with, what is your initial guidance? Like, how do you help them initially when they come to you to coach?
So with my coaching, it's for online business. So you're able to connect with me through like either my Facebook page or my Instagram. And we have a conversation to see like where you are in your life. Like what are your current situations, like are you struggling, with some health issues, financial, like either, mindset, things like that. And then I'm able to see like how I'm able to help, either like business coaching or like holistic health mentoring, and like be able to be like a hub for them, and be like, okay, like if it's more like health related, I can direct them, to someone who has really helped me, and give them guidance and tips of like what has really helped me in my own journey. So just really like connecting with the woman and seeing, what they are really going through in their life right now, and seeing like where I'm able to help them, whether it's, making like a professional decision or more like a personal decision for themselves in their journeys.
So what are some ways that people can work with you right now?
Through my business coaching right now. So I am in digital marketing. So I'm able to coach women who are burnt out like I was. So I really like help out my former self in a way, because I have been in, their shoes, to be able to like work through their mindset and create like a career change for themselves if they feel like they're so burnt out in their current professional journeys, and create like a life that they really love and enjoy and are passionate about. Because like the most important part of your job is being you, and sharing that with the world. So like having like the online opportunity, and working in the online space, you could really be your whole authentic self. And that's what I truly align with. And I feel like the women who also align with that message can connect with me and, talk with me about, what they are looking for to have as far as, creating an online business for themselves and just being authentically who they are.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you have done for yourself. Like you left this nurse practitioner, well, you were forced to leave it, because of everything, because that was not meant for you. Mm-hmm. I know you worked so hard for it and you got your title and everything, but I think the universe knew that you were meant for more. And now you're here coaching women through what you went through so they can finally leave their 9-to-5 or their corporate job and really find what their soul wants to do and find another way, and then that's just so powerful that you get to do that now.
Yeah.
And women, the path that you walked on.
Yeah. It's so powerful because I'm able to help in such a bigger capacity than what I could have even imagined, as a nurse practitioner, because, having like the holistic health being such a big part of me, you can't just separate who you are, mentally, physically, spiritually, what your roles are, professional life, like it all makes up who you are. So being able to help in that capacity, I think is just, it's amazing. And it truly is a gift and more than what I could ever ask for.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the women that get to work with you in the future and tap into your energy.
Thank you.
What are some ways that people can connect with you? Is it through everything is going to be in the show notes, but just tell people how they can reach you and connect with you.
Yeah, you can connect with me on Facebook at Dorottya Pataki and on Instagram, Designing Each Day as Desired. And I also have my website. You can connect with me through your name and email. It's www.dorottyaPataki.com.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to tell us, you want to share with us, or just any words of inspiration, anything that comes through?
So whenever you feel like you're lost or like everything is falling apart, just trust that it's happening for a reason and try not to fight against it because it's leading you to where you are meant to be and to who you truly are at your core.
Mm-hmm. The path always leads you back to you, right?
It does. And that's what you will always have for the rest of your life. You're always going to have you, no matter what, job title you had or how many failed relationships you had or losses in your life or, anything. You're always going to have you. You are the most important project you will ever work on.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. Well, I am so grateful that we were able to have this conversation. I'm so happy we connected and you went from listening to one episode, 2 episodes to now being part of my podcast. I'm so grateful and honored to have you as my guest today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was so amazing. And I'm just so happy that we were able to connect on a deeper level. And like, it's really amazing. I never would have thought, listening to those episodes that I would ever be here sitting with you. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk with you and share my story.
Yeah, your story deserves a spot on my podcast because I fell in love with it and your energy, and you're just like, go follow her. Seriously, everything you share on social media, your reels, your stories, Facebook stories, Instagram stories, they're so uplifting. You're always like so positive. You exude self-love and like the true embodiment of it. So go follow her. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being part of this conversation on the Feminine Truth Podcast. This podcast is for you, for me, for us, for the Feminine Collective. Thank you for spending your time and energy with us. I so appreciate it. Please, it would mean so much if you could share this in your Instagram stories, in your Facebook stories, or everywhere, so this message gets spread and others can find this podcast and this conversation. And if you feel like someone needs to hear this message, please share with them. I would be so grateful for you, and let us know your thoughts, how this has helped you, how you connected with this topic, or how this has felt in your body. And lastly, if you feel the pull, I would be immensely grateful if you could take the time to leave a review so more people can find my podcast and this conversation. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you on the next episode.